not covered. That's electrical conductivity. So what we are going to do is we will consider an intrinsic semiconductor only. Okay, and let's keep ourselves muted and save the video, save the bandwidth. So we are going to consider an intrinsic semiconductor, and that you're going to connect it to a supply. Okay, obviously p type 2 positive and n type 2 negative. Now, if I do that, okay, obviously if I give a supply, the charge carriers will start moving across, correct? They will move from one side to the other depending on the potential applied. Like if you apply potential, like say if it is a p type, n type, I mean whether you have a PN junction diode or else just an intrinsic semiconductor, a simple intrinsic silicon semiconductor if I take, you have both combination of everything. So all electrons and holes, everything will start moving when you apply some potential. So the velocity with which the charges move, the majority charge carriers move, these charge carriers, that means the electrons and the holes move, you will call it as drift velocity. Okay, drift velocity. Now, since there are both electrons and holes in the semiconductor, right? Semiconductor has both electrons and holes which are moving across. So the total current will be given by the sum of electron current and the hole current. So total current I can write as IE plus IH. Next, if I know the current as like this, then current density I can write, all I am doing is replace I with J. So total current density will be a sum of electron current density plus hole current density. Now what is current density? It's a current flowing through a unit area of the semiconductor. So current by area gives the current density. So total current density J is equal to JE plus JH. So what we are going to do is get an expression for this J, okay, in terms of something called as conductivity. Now, if drift, so we said the drift velocity, the velocity with which the charge carriers, electrons and holes are moving as drift velocity, right? So for electron, let me consider the velocity as VE, V suffix E, okay? Then current density for electrons, JE, is given by number of electrons, that is your whatever you found in the morning, that is N, right? Electron concentration, number density of electrons, multiplied by the charge of the electron, multiplied by the drift velocity of the electron. NE into VE. JE is equal to NE into VE. Similarly, I can even do for holes, right? So before that, one more concept which you need to know is mobility. What is the mobility of these electrons? What do you understand as mobility? So these charge carriers, electrons and holes are moving when you applied a potential, right? When I apply a potential, obviously it sets up an electric field, correct? It sets up an electric field. So mobility is given by the velocity, drift velocity over unit electric field. So I applied a potential, I gave a DC supply to the semiconductor. That applied potential results into an electric field across that semiconductor. So the velocity of the charge carrier divided by electric field will give its mobility, what we call as mobility. So mu E, that is for electron mobility, is drift velocity of electron VE divided by the electric field. Okay. Now, I can rewrite this to get some expression for the drift velocity. So mu E into electric field, mobility into electric field gives the drift velocity. What did I do this? I can replace VE in this expression for current density of electron, right? I can replace for VE. So what happens to JE then? Current density becomes NE remains as it is. Instead of the velocity, you are going to write mobility multiplied by electric field. NE mu E into E. Now, one more thing which you need to know is, so you got one expression for current density of electron, that is Ne mu E in E. What is it? Current density of electron is equal to number density of electrons, or your electron concentration N, into electron charge E, into mobility of the electron into the electric field. This is one expression for current density of the electron. I can get one more expression. What is that? So I can write J current density in terms of electric field like this. J is equal to sigma into E. This sigma is what is known as the conductivity, electrical conductivity, which we have been talking about until now. It's said that the title is electrical conductivity. We are going to say what it is. We are going to find an expression for sigma. So J is equal to sigma E, and this formula is also known as Ohm's law. Similar to your V is equal to IR, it originates from the same only. So J is equal to sigma into E. So similar, if J is equal to sigma E, this is like a general expression. So I can write for an electron, Je is equal to sigma E into E. We already got one expression. What is that? Je is equal to Ne mu into E, right? So if I just equate these two expressions for Je, sigma E into E and Ne mu E. If I do that, I will get sigma E. This is suffix here, okay? It's not a multiplication, it's a suffix. Sigma of electron, or conductivity of electrons, is given by N, number density, multiplied by charge E, into the mobility of electrons. Sigma E is equal to Ne mu E. Similarly, I will get current density for holes, JH, is sigma H into E, which will be equal to PE mu H. Okay, there is an E here. PE mu H into E. Okay, or sigma H is, or sigma P or sigma H, whichever you want to take. Sigma H is PE into mu H. PE into mu H. So I have conductivity for electrons, Ne into mu E, number density of electrons multiplied by charge of electrons multiplied by mobility of electrons. Conductivity of holes is similar. The only thing is now it is number density of holes. That is your P, expression for P, which we did in the morning. And then multiplied by charge of electron. Why again charge of electron? Because hole is actually absence of an electron. So you're basically actually considering it as an electron only, right? So this is E, charge again remains E, the value remains the same. And then multiplied by the mobility of the holes. So total conductivity is a sum of the sigma E and sigma P or sigma H, whatever you want to call. So total conductivity sigma is Ne mu E, that is for the electrons, plus Pe mu H, that is for the holes. Or total current density is, see, it is into sigma is into E, right? So the entire term Ne mu E plus Pe mu H into E. This is your total current density. Okay. Now, this is a general form if I have an intrinsic semiconductor, but there are obviously electrons and holes. What I am going to do is, we now have seen this in the previous class, that for an intrinsic semiconductor, N is equal to P is equal to Ni, that is the intrinsic carrier concentration. Number density of electrons is equal to number density of holes, and you assigned it to another term, Ni, that is intrinsic carrier concentration. So if I do that, what do I get? Instead of N and P, I am going to put Ni. In this expression, I am going to put Ni. So sigma was Ne mu E plus Pe mu H. It will become Ni E mu E plus Ni E mu H. Or Ni into E will remain a common term. I will take it outside. And bracket, I will get mu E plus mu H. That means the sum of the mobility. So conductivity has now become like intrinsic carrier concentration multiplied by charge of electron multiplied by the sum of the mobility of electrons and holes. Next step, what are you going to do? I already know what is Ni, right? We got this big expression in the morning. 2 into 2 pi k by h square raised to 3 by 2, m star ms star raised to 3 by 4, t to the power of 3 by 2, e to the power of minus eg by 2 kt. Correct? I just substitute for Ni in this particular expression. So my sigma, or sorry, not my sigma, the total conductivity, total electrical conductivity of the intrinsic semiconductor, now I will rewrite as sigma is equal to this from Ni, this entire surface comes, the entire things come, and then there is E, I put the E here, and then mu E plus mu H, mu E plus mu H. So this is the expression for electrical conductivity. The only thing was you need to know what is Ni, that is the expression for intrinsic carrier concentration. Now, one more thing. I can take mobility as proportional to T to the power of minus 3 by 2. Mobility in general is proportional to temperature, is depending on temperature in this way, T to the power of minus 3 by 2. So I can write for an electron, the mobility will be mu E is proportional to a constant alpha into T to the power of minus 3 by 2. For holes, it is mu H is proportional to a constant beta into T to the power of minus 3 by 2. Why am I keeping different constant? Because these are two different types of charge carriers. Electrons and holes are different types of charge carriers. So the drift velocity will be slightly different. So same reason your mobility also is slightly different. Okay. So you need to have this constant alpha and constant beta. If I have mu E and mu H, I've got it like this, right? Alpha T to the power of minus 3 by 2, beta T to the power of minus 3 by 2. In the previous expression, I have a mu E plus mu H. So I can just add next and get mu E plus mu H. That will be alpha T to the power of minus 3 by 2 and sum of with beta T to the power of minus 3 by 2. In total, T to the power of minus 3 by 2 is a constant, and alpha plus beta, whichever comes in the bracket, I will write as another constant, gamma. So I have got mu E plus mu H as gamma T to the power of minus 3 by 2. All I am going to do now is substitute into the expression for sigma, that is your conductivity. So now your conductivity expression becomes like this. 2E gamma, that is this constant which came from here, 2 pi k by h square raised to 3 by 2, m star raised to 3 by 4, e to the power of minus eg by 2 kt. The bigger difference is this. You had a t to the power of 3 by 2 in the previous expression. Earlier you had a t to the power of 3 by 2. But now you have got mu E plus mu H as t to the power of minus 3 by 2. So that cancels. Temperature term cancels. So your final expression for conductivity doesn't have a t to the power of 3 by 2. Okay. Now all these things will be constant. So only dependency is coming on here, the band gap energy. And obviously a slight dependency on the temperature for whichever temperature you do. So if this is 10 Kelvin or 100 Kelvin or 200 Kelvin, there will be a slight change in the exponential value. So I can rewrite this entire constant stuff. 2E gamma 2 pi k by h square raised to 3 by 2 and m star raised to 3 by 4. This entire stuff I can write as a single letter, capital A, because this is constant. This is constant. So I write it as a constant A into e to the power of minus Eg by 2 kt. That is the expression for conductivity or sigma in an intrinsic semiconductor. So let me just repeat this quickly. So what you did is you considered an intrinsic semiconductor which is connected to a supply. You have both charge carriers, electrons and holes. Then you find what is the total current and then what is the total current density. Now next we get an expression for total current density. First you consider the drift velocity in terms of drift velocity. First you take electron density as Ne into Ve. N is the number density of electrons, E is the charge and V is the velocity. So give me a second, what is happening here? Okay, cool. Now velocity, drift velocity, I am going to write in terms of mobility mu. Okay, so mobility mu is velocity by electric field. So I just replace this entire thing and get us Ne mu E into E. So this is one expression for electron current density. One more expression, if I apply Ohm's law, that is J is equal to sigma E, I get J is equal to sigma E, or I get sigma E is equal to Ne into mu E. Similarly, I will do for holes, I will get, for holes, I get the sigma P or sigma H better write as sigma H as PE into mu H. P is the number density of holes, E is the charge of electron or charge of hole, I can say both are similar. And then the mobility of the holes. Mobility will be obviously different for electrons and holes. So I get the total conductivity as a sum of this sigma E and sigma H, the sum of these two conductivities, electron conductivity and hole conductivity. I can even write an expression for total current density. Now, what I do is I consider that since it is an intrinsic semiconductor, I can take N is equal to P is equal to another constant or another term Ni. I will not say it as a constant, I will say it as Ni, intrinsic carrier concentration. I'll replace NiP with Ni, so I'll get Ni into E as a common term. So sigma becomes Nie into mu plus mu H. After this, substitute the expression for Ni, which you have already derived. Substitute that and you get this entire big long stuff. Okay. And then what we do is we get a small expression for mu E plus mu H, that is the mobility. So mobility is proportional to T to the power of minus 3 by 2. So I can write it separately for electrons and holes. I add them up and I write a common term as gamma T to the power of minus 3 by 2. If I substitute all these things, the temperature dependency in the terms of 3 by 2 or not will go off. The entire thing comes to like you have big constant there, all these terms are constant, multiplied by exponential minus Eg by 2 kT. Okay, this is the electrical conductivity expression. Now, moving on to what you are going to do in the lab, that is the 4-probe experiment. Okay, 4-probe experiment. Now, so what is this 4-probe experiment? So if you are seeing that figure or that circuit diagram which is given there, you would have seen that there are like 4 nib kind of thing, right? 4 nib or 4 pointed stuff which are sitting on a surface, right? So if I have to usually understand how resistivity or measure resistivity in a semiconductor, okay, measure resistivity. Conductivity done, so now we are talking about resistivity. Resistivity obviously is inversely proportional to conductivity. So now we are going to measure resistivity in an intrinsic semiconductor. So usually what happens is if I do like the typical way of measuring resistivity, okay, if I use like something with a connection with some metal and all those things, what will happen is the minority charge carriers will create some problem. They will create some problem. So they will, what they will do is they will change the potential difference across the terminals. They will change the potential difference across the semiconductor. So because of a change in potential, resistance also will change. So minority charge carriers, if there are so many minority charge carriers, those flows can create some issues if I go for a metal semiconductor combination, normal way of studying resistivity. So that is where this 4-probe method comes, and that is having huge benefits like this. One is to measure resistivity, that also in semiconductor samples with a wide variety of shapes. So I don't have to restrict myself to a bigger piece or a smaller piece or the smallest piece or whatever it is. I can measure resistivity using this method for even a smaller piece of a semiconductor. So there can be different wide variety of shapes. Shapes in the sense it can be circular, it can be square, it can be rectangular, whatever it is. Okay. And then obviously I can, the 4-probe method will help me to measure resistivity of smaller pieces, even within the bigger pieces of the semiconductor. I take a big semiconductor. If I want only a small chunk of that semiconductor, or is to study the resistivity, I can even do that. Okay, so you will get a better accuracy if you do the 4-probe method. And this method is applicable to silicon and other semiconductor materials. Now, the reason to say this is the 4-probe method which we are doing in the lab, that sample which we are using is actually germanium, it's not silicon, we are using germanium. So germanium is also a semiconductor. Now, So what are we doing? So here is the thing. You have four sharp probes. So these are like, pen nibs or pencil points, right? So these are called as probe. Each of them is a probe. Okay, so there are four probes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Give me a second. So there are like four probes, and you have kept it on a semiconductor sample. This thing which you are seeing is your semiconductor sample. So this is like a kind of three-dimensional picture. So you have the four probes. This is lying on this particular semiconductor sample which you have taken. Okay. So now what you are going to do next is between these probes you can see the distance. It is marked S1, S2 and S3. This distance actually remains constant. It remains constant. So distance between each of the probes, that is 1 to 2, 2 to 3 and 3 to 4, that will remain constant. Okay. Now because of that, because of this way you are connected the probes, or the way you kept the probes, the way you maintain the distance, what is going to happen is you will be able to give constant current here between these probe number 1 and probe number 4. That means the outer probes. Outer probes are outer electrodes. It's like an electrode actually. So the outer probes you can give current. Okay, it will be connected to the ammeter or a constant current source, and the in between ones will be connected to a voltmeter. So actually, because of you have maintained a constant distance between the different probes, and suppose I give a constant current across this 1 and 4. Okay, because of that, there will be only a minor change in the potential between probe 2 and 3. Whatever potential you are measuring, there will be a minor change. So that variation in potential, variation in voltage, you can measure. Okay. Now, one more thing is, so we said that sometimes minority carriers create problem, right? So in order to get rid of that, there's something called as mechanical lapping. This is a very simple way to understand is this. You would have heard of sandpapers. Sandpapers. So sandpapers, if you rub on a surface, the surface will become smooth, right? The surface will become smooth. Anything rough, you just take that sandpaper. It looks like a brown one, and the other side will be like kind of some pattern will be there. So sandpaper, if you rub over this entire surface, semiconductor surface, it will make it smooth. There will not be any kind of deformations or any unevenness. There will not be any unevenness. So it will make it smooth. So because of that, that issue with the minority carriers can be get rid of. Now this I have shown in another way, so your connection there will be similar. So there is a current source which is connected, then there is an ammeter, and then potential, so there is galvanometer or potentiometer or voltmeter. I have better say that you are using a voltmeter for connection. Now, so just a few important points to notice in the case of a port probe measurement, that because of the way you have done this small, you've taken a surface, kept the probes constant and all those things, I mean the distance between the probes constant and all those things, the resistivity will be uniform wherever I am measuring at a particular temperature. Okay, suppose I take a room temperature, the resistivity of this entire sample will be constant throughout this entire semiconductor. At a particular temperature, I will get one value of resistivity. Obviously, if I change the temperature, resistivity will be different. Now, so as I said earlier, if you use that sandpaper or you do that lapping kind of surface, you can get rid of the minority carriers, whatever problem goes due to the minority carriers. Now, another thing is this surface should be flat, and that means your semiconductor sample should be flat. There should not be like any hilly structure or a dip or anything like that. Now, all the four probes lie in a straight line. You can see that. 1, 2, 3, 4. All of them lie in a straight line. This is very important. Now, next. Very important. Okay, one more thing is this. If you want to make the semiconductor conducting or non-conducting, there are two ways of doing it. One is you can bring it, if you want to make it a conducting, you can bring it in contact with metal like copper. Okay. If you want to make it non-conducting, you can bring it in contact with an insulator. So why is that conducting required? Because obviously you need to measure the current across, right? So there should be some flow of current across your different devices. So for that reason, you can either make it conducting or non-conducting. For non-conducting, you connect it to an insulator. Okay. So this is about 4 probes. Now, what do we do in our lab? Let me move to that. So here it goes. So this is your circuit diagram. So it looks like a figure, but it's a combo of a figure with circuit. Okay. So you have a semiconductor sample here. This is a semiconductor sample. You kept all the 4 probes in a straight line with equal distance, and that distance is 2 millimeter in the case given to you. Okay. And then ammeter, and you're given a constant current source across the probe number 1 and 4. First and last probe, you're giving a current. Next is you are measuring the voltage. You are measuring the voltage between 2 and 3. Okay. Now you have to find resistivity. So if you have to find resistivity, obviously you need to know the formula. So here is the formula for resistivity. Rho is equal to V by I into 2 pi S. V by I gives resistance, but resistance over a unit length of the surface is what gives the resistivity, right? So if I consider the entire circumference of this thing, where it is lying, we'll get 2 pi S. So V by I into 2 pi S gives the resistivity. Okay, and what do you